you try to do it based on your experience of seeing things. Take the passing game, for example. I mean, the spacing, the timing, location of the ball, like all those things you're looking at to see, does this look right? Or, are we getting away with things right here? Same thing up front. How's our footwork? How's our hand placement? How's the communication? How's the pad level? How are we getting off to the second level? Are we getting movement? All those things you try to do the best you can. And you expect a very, very high level of execution. When you don't have that, you got to figure out why that is. And so it's the same thing. You're trying to identify: is it coaching, is it scheme, or is it personnel? The best you can. I will say it's not always easy coming out of those games to identify those, but the more you watch it, the more you work at it, the more experience you get as a coach, you try to project the best you can on those things. Another good sign. I think he was accurate. The ball came out on time. We pushed the ball down the field a little bit. He was accurate with those throws down the field. Those are the things probably that jumped out. Again, a lot of things, there were guys open, so that was good. He did his job. But, I think, you're seeing, how quick the ball comes out. He is seeing the field well. And, it was good to see him push the ball down the field as well, because he does have a strong arm. And we can stretch the field vertically, horizontally, and then run the ball. And that's when we're at our best. I think the staff chemistry, I actually mentioned this to the staff today, is very good. I think everyone's working together well. I think the energy in practice has been good. I think the messaging to the players has been good. But, where we're going moving forward is going to be a big part of how we coach and what we identify. And so, we have got to fix the issues that maybe don't show up last week. And we got to project out what is the right mix of things that we're doing well, that is our foundation, but not getting into a situation where, we're getting picked on in terms of schematics and someone's got something, that they can look at and get a step ahead of. Also having enough curveballs in there that you're ahead of that, but then not doing too many new things where you can't execute anything. And that's the balance that we have to continually find. So it's very, very difficult, in my opinion, to make an assessment after 2 games. Obviously, the first game was a big challenge, but it was the first game. There's just a lot of clunkiness to that game, and it was great to get the win. But where we're going is just totally different than where we've been these first 2 games. So, a lot of work to do. We got to keep building, but that's what's exciting about this team. I think they want it. I think they have a good edge to them. I think they're growing up every day. Not everybody as fast as we want them to, but they're getting there. And the more they play, the faster they're going to grow up.
Dressel played a ton of these. Urban maybe not quite as many. What's your philosophy on Ohio State posting the instinct?
I kind of leave that up to Ross to schedule these games, and I think it's good for the state. I think it's great for the state of Ohio. I know OU has a very proud tradition, and there's a lot of Ohio players on the roster who are going to come into the shoe and want to play really hard, play really well, and win the game. So I think it's good for the state. I think it's great for their school. I think it's great for our school, and when you're from the state of Ohio, having a memory of playing in the horseshoe during your college career is significant. And we know these guys will be playing with their hair on fire. Dramatically can defend you. If you're just exclusively one thing after a while, this is what I try to tell the coaches all the time, that they're gonna get you eventually. And we've been 11 around here for a long time, so the ability to jump into 12 and 13 personnel gives us something different. It's a change-up. And in my opinion, when a defensive player goes from 11 to 12 to 13, back to 11 to tempo to empty, and all these different things come into play, it's harder for them to nail down exactly what you're doing. If you're always in 11, you're always in one tempo, it's a lot easier for them to kind of zero in on what you're doing. So we want to put as much stress, we've always felt that way, and as the game has evolved year in, year out, we try to stay a step ahead. And a couple years ago, we realized that the tight end position and having wide receivers that can block were critical. So to me, if you're just doing one thing, no good. You have to be able to be a tight end that can run routes or a receiver that can block. If you're just a receiver that can run routes or you're just a tight end that can block, you don't bring a lot to the table in terms of value. I'm not saying you can't play, but teams can start to narrow in on what you can do, and then they start to really dive into what they're going to get when you're in the game. So the more versatility you guys have, the better.
Was that a conscious conversation you and Tony and maybe had about
little bit of both. We knew that we wanted to, again, have these guys that have versatility, and then what you do is, you take a look at what you have on the team that year, and you build it around those guys. So, I think we've always wanted to utilize our tight ends, and we've had some really good tight ends that have come, but now that we probably are deeper there than we've been in the past, no. I don't think it's a good idea at all. In the conversations that we had with the Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how, for teams that are playing in the playoffs are expected to, make the decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready to play for games. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know the calendar is funky, but, I know that the Big Ten and Tony Petitti's been working hard because he doesn't believe it either, and either the coaches in the Big Ten. We had a lot of long discussions about that and tried to work through the different windows, but I don't agree with it being in January.